Try it again. Good evening and welcome to the May 3rd, 2017 meeting of the Public Works Committee of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please? Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Thank you. Our first order of business this evening is to approve the minutes of the April 5th, 2017 Public Works Committee meeting. And may I have a motion to approve?
So move second.
Thank you.
Do all at once.
Are there any comments or corrections from members of the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Public Works Committee has 3 items for consideration this evening. The first is PW1, and this is a motion to adopt resolution number 17-015, authorizing the Township of Abington to submit an application formally requesting a grant of funds from the Watershed Restoration and Protection Program for 2017, and I so move.
Second.
Mr. Powers, could you kindly provide a little backdrop for us?
Yeah. Susan Harris from the Tookanee Watershed has been working with George and myself and Mike Philmeyer on this grant. This project is in the Ardsley Wildlife Sanctuary area. We have a dam up there, and it's constantly being silted in. This project will help control that silting. It's costing us about $25,000 to $35,000 a year to clean that silt out every year. So with this grant, that'll minimize that silting of the pond and take away that cost. It's a $300,000 grant. We do have a match now. We've incorporated this also with our MS4 program, which I'm going to talk about at the end of the Public Works meeting. So this will get us credits for our MS4 program, as well as help us with a maintenance problem. And we're getting $300,000 out of the deal, and I think it's a $45,000 match, which we'll take out of the MS4 money in the future budgets of our budgeting for the MS4 program. I think it's a good deal for the township, and like I said, it works because it gives us credits to the MS4 program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And how long has this particular area been an issue for the township?
Well, we put the basin in around 2000, 2001. Started after that, the silting problem. So it's been a good 10, 15 years that we've been working on taking the silt out because of the upstream area. Although it's a parkland, it's park ground, it has a lot of erodible soils. Mm-hmm. The banks are very high. So between George, myself, and Susan, and Mike Philmeyer, we went out and looked at areas where we could minimize and cut down on that silt problem, and then also include this, like I said, in our MS4 program to help us with the pounds of soil we have to remove from the site.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from members of the committee? Commissioner Klein.
The $45,000 match coming out of the MS4 capital, was this already figured in the capital budget, or is this something you're reallocating capital budget?
It's actually, this one hasn't been figured in yet. It will come into this year's program. We'll add it to this year's budget as far as that's concerned. But we also have other monies we're going to have to add to the future of the MS4 program. I'll explain that, as we get into the program. We're at a crossroads with the program now. The MS4 program has been around for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. We've pretty much followed everything we had to. Now we've got more stringent requirements and a lot more work we have to do as far as the program is concerned.
Well, so is the $45,000 coming from the 2017 budget, or are you anticipating the potential award of this grant and the $45,000 being budgeted for 18?
I don't believe this grant will be awarded before the end of this year. It takes a while to get these grants awarded. By the time you get them in, and the awards occur. Usually it doesn't happen until the following year anyway, so we're hoping to budget this with
2018
budget. 2018 capital, through the capital program.
Okay. Thank you.
Other comments? Commissioner Myers.
Thank you. I just want to make mention, and Solicitor Clark, this may involve you. The resolution names Michael Lefevre as the secretary. Now, we won't be voting on this until the full board meeting, but will we first be voting on the new manager as the secretary? Will that be at the beginning of the meeting?
I believe, and I'd have to take a look, and I'm looking at Commissioner Klein because we took a look at this. I think he assumed, does the job description assume that he becomes the secretary? Mr. Lefevre's name is on it because he is the secretary
Right, no,
as we sit here today.
it's right in the middle transition, but we need it to be correct.
And I would take a look again at the job description. If it doesn't assume that he becomes the secretary, then we would need to do that at our meeting next week.
And whoever has this document needs to make sure the change is made.
That's a good question, because I have a contract award on here, and we also have Michael, or who the new secretary is going to be, so we're going to have to know who that name is, or who to put on that document for next week's board meeting, so that when we send out our documents, we have the right
I think
person
it's
on
safe,
there.
I think it's safe to say that the name's going to be Richard Manfredi as
I
our
would hope so.
manager.
That's what we're
If we have to,
preparing
if
for.
we have to do a ministerial task at the next board meeting to appoint him as secretary in the beginning of the meeting, then we'll do such at that
That's great.
time, and there won't be any issue here. So I think it should be assumed that at this point, the name Michael LaFever on the, just
On the
designate the
resolution,
manager,
we'll change
whoever
that
that's going to be.
to, we'll change it
Correct.
to the other name.
Lauren just handed me a copy of the duties of the Township Manager, which, as I said, are in the Abington Code, and he does serve as Secretary of the Board of Commissioners. So anything, I'm not even sure if a vote would need to be taken purely from a ministerial standpoint, but it is part of his job description, so he is the Secretary of the Board.
Just for the record, I wasn't questioning that. I just wanted the document to be correct.
Thank you. Other comments or questions for members of the board? Any comments from staff? Members of the audience? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. PW2 is a motion to approve and enter into contract with Almeida and Hudak Contractors, LLC for the 2017 capital Phase 1 storm sewer projects in the amount of $1,014,885 to be funded from account number 07-00-967-7200, and I so move.
Second.
Are there comments or questions from members of the committee? Commissioner Klein.
So I guess it looks like we have about $386,000 below what this Phase 1 is.
That's correct.
So I guess we'll reserve that until we see what Phase 2 bids come in at,
That's correct.
as to whether the program could be expanded.
I believe probably will be, looking at this bid was really kind of low, but contractor assures us he's going to do the job for the price, so we're happy with it, and
He's
that'll
done
give
plenty
us-
of work in the township.
Right.
Yep, he's done plenty of work.
stormwater.
He's worked in the township before, and he's been low like this before in other projects, and he's done the work.
And we don't have any restrictions on the bonding that, I mean, I know you've done this in the past, so I just want to make sure the bond is written the same way. We don't have any restrictions to the bonding, that only the projects listed can be done. We can expand that list if need be,
Yeah, at the board's discretion, yeah, you can expand that
as long as it
list.
stays within that stormwater
I
management.
believe it's not a bond, it's a loan at this
Oh,
time.
right.
I think
That's
Kevin
right.
did a
Yeah.
loan,
That's right.
and I think that loan didn't have the restrictions that the
That's right.
bond had, so I believe we're in good shape that if things come up through the year, we have the money, we can also do those projects.
Thanks, Mike.
Any other comments or questions from members of the board? Comments from staff? Members of the audience? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And PW3 is a presentation of the draft plan of Abington Township MS4 Stormwater Plan, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Powers, the Township Engineer.
Today, we have the MS4 program before you. The program requires a hearing, which we're having tonight, 30-day comments from the residents, but I wanted to get it to you ahead of time. I'll run through the program for you and give you a brief description. You all have a copy of the book. I mean, it's this thick, so there's a lot of pages. Have fun reading it. It's light entertainment there. It lists all the projects that myself, Mike Philmeyer, the Watershed Association, Temple, have looked at different sites. Many of the sites we tried to choose that were township property, so we didn't have to worry about requiring right-of-way or permission from residents to do the projects. And it involves a lot of our parks throughout the township, parkland. So Again, this is the, I'm figuring out how to start the presentation. Yeah. Thank you. All right, just for the agenda, I'll give you a background, a small background of where we are. The individual permit, we have to have an individual permit because we have a TMDL, so we're required to have basically individual permit. We've been required for that for the last 5 years. This is the second phase of that permit. We'll go through the maximum daily loads, the pollutant reduction plan, and the pollution control measures, and how we're going to figure out how to do the program. And then at the end, I'll ask for any questions and comments from the residents. Again, the MS4 program started originally. Our permit started in 2003, but 5 years prior to that, we were working on the MS4 program. It covers us till 2018. We're one of the few municipalities that received the permit in the state of Pennsylvania. We have to submit a new application by September 16th, have a hearing, have comments from residents. This, again, is a crossroad for us for the MS4 program, so we're open to any suggestions or any changes. I don't think that anything we've put down on paper is cast in concrete. Anything can be changed as far as the program is concerned. Abington, again, has to apply for an individual permit, and it entails not just the TMDL, but all the watersheds in the township. I'm considered the MS4 contact person on the permit application. Again, we tried to develop a plan that was consistent with what the DEP wanted, but also keep the costs under control as far as what the township would be paying for the projects. We started out in the program without a permit. We started out with public education, public improvement, illicit discharge. The education part and the public improvement has been handled a lot by our environmental council, our school district, the watersheds, as far as public involvement and public participation. The illicit discharges have been handled by our police department and our highway department. The construction and post-construction stormwater problems have been handled by our code enforcement department, and all of our facilities have put together some type of program, our highway department, parks department, for keeping their yards clean and keeping any discharges from going into the streams. Again, we had to have a TMDL plan, and everybody's sharing the responsibility. This is a long list of what we have to do, our requirements, and the causes. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Everybody can read what they are, but just about every stream in the township is impaired. You can see the red lines show you just about everything. I think there's very little blue lines in the township that we have to address some type of TMDL issue in each stream and come up with a program to reduce sediment loads and also pollutant loads in the streams. Again, this gives you the acreage of what goes to each stream. The Pennypack Creek, of course, has the most. The Sandy Run has a large acreage. The other streams are a little smaller. The Tokenie has a large acreage. So we had 3 watersheds. We're dealing with 3 watersheds. Most municipalities only have 1 watershed. We've got 3 to deal with and to come up with a program with. The biggest, of course, is the TMDL. The largest problem is the amount we have to remove. It's 355,000 pounds per year that the township has to remove from the Sandy Run. We were handling this with a street sweeper. It was our first 5 years. The street sweeper program was handling that. Now DEP has told us we can't use that pretty much anymore. They reduced the amount that a street sweeper can pick up as far as tonnage. So we had to go to a new program and a new idea of how to handle all this. We went to what's called the Stepple modeling, because it's what Temple and all the watersheds use. Try and stay consistent with everybody else is using. DEP uses it and accepts this model and how to figure out how much tonnage we're removing from the streams. What's good about this, too, is because the watersheds support and the Planning Commission from Montgomery County support this type of program, we're picking projects that we could get grants for in the future to cover a lot of these costs and cut down the costs to the commissioners and the residents of the township. This is another breakdown of every project that we're proposing. If you see in the RSV Wildlife Sanctuary that you just approved is on that list. It's 147,475 pounds. So we're removing a lot of sediment with that project. That's the grant you just approved it today. So that's on the list to help bring this list up to 537,000 pounds. The first set of projects we've already done in the township on the TMDL. Again, we have to have this reduction in our program, 10% sediment reduction, 5% total phosphorus reduction. We've listed the other streams. Most of them are phosphorus and nutrients loads. And we do everything every project will meet all three requirements as far as what we need. We have the Meadowbrook Creek, Robin Hood Creek, Rockledge Branch, Terwood Run, Tacony, Wissahickon Creek, Sandy Run. So it's a large amount of projects. This list here gives you what we've done in the past. That's about $1 billion worth of projects that have already been approved and built by the previous applications. The next step is the costs. We figure that just on the TMDL and the first stage of the TMDL plan, we'll be able to, it'll cost about $3 million, $4,993,310 in engineering. The grant money we have already acquired most of these projects. You can see the grant amounts in there. The $2 million was budgeted. It's a grant. The $650,000 it was budgeted under the 2017 capital, so that's already budgeted. So some of this stuff has already been budgeted. The $86,250. I'm hoping that that Susquehanna Woods Base Number 3 retrofit. The state's supposed to do that when they do Tyson and Edge Hill next year. So that'll already be done for us. So that cost will be something the township won't have to put out since the state's already covering that with the reconstruction project down there. So there's a lot of things, like I said, that have already been budgeted. The Rochester Park, rain gardens, and all that stuff we've already budgeted that through the MS4 program. So those grants have already been acquired and budgeted for the project. This next list, as far as the Pennypack Creek and the Meadowbrook Creek and Albathorpe Park, again, we're going to acquire, go out for grants. Albathorpe Park looks like those grants are really good to be qualifying for grants. Most of the Pennypack and the Meadowbrook and the Rockledge Creek all fall into the plans for the watershed, so we're hoping to get grants for all this. And then the bottom list is your pollutant reductions, and that's just some engineering test studies. We have to go out and test all these creeks to see if there's any pollutants in there or pathogens in the creek. So they're all tests that have to be done in the streams. Again, the estimated budget is about $4 million, about $233,000 in grants, $2,313,000 over the next 5 to 10 years in capital. However, some of that's already been accounted for in our previous capital program. So that number will come down as we go forward. If we get these grants, they're usually about 75%, so that number is going to come down even higher and quicker as we acquire these grants and apply for the grants. Each year, the grants come out, we'll put these projects out for the grants and see if we can get them. At this point, I guess I'll leave it for any questions.
So the renewal application is due September 16th of
That's
this
correct.
year. So what's the timeline for you to have a draft that you'll want to bring forward, I guess, for
Well, this is
review?
your draft right
This
now.
is the draft here,
This is the
okay.
draft you have before you. You have time. Yeah, obviously, we don't have to submit this till September.
Right.
But I wanted to get it before the public and get the public comment, because we also have to include any public comment that might come with this, and of course, the board's comments on any of these projects, especially look in your areas where these projects are. If you want, I can meet you, go over where they are in your wards and how they apply to your wards.
Is there major substantive direction that you're looking for from either this committee or the board, or more general commentary so that we familiarize ourselves with this in advance of a final vote?
I think before a final vote, I think you need to review it and look at it, and like I said, meet with me individually if you'd like, or Mike Philmeyer, or any of the staff. We'll meet you out there, we'll show you what we're planning, what we're doing in your individual wards, and then go over each individual case. In most cases, I think most of the wards are affected. I don't think Ward 6 is affected because there's not a creek in Ward 6. Technically, it's all ditches. So, there's a little bit, it's maybe one of the few wards that doesn't have any effect as far as a TMDL or any kind of impaired stream.
And I haven't looked, is this available on the website as of yet?
This will be
It
available on the
okay.
website. We will put it up on the website. Again, we're looking for, comments,
Yep.
and if people have other suggestions or possibilities that we can do. Like I said, I've tried to stay off of private property because I didn't want to get into the issue where
right-of-ways.
could we do the project if the homeowner didn't want it. You got to remember, we can't use our standard type of creek protection that we use right now, the concrete blocks. We got to go in with concrete boulders and willow sticks and things like that are environmentally safe. And so it's got to be a different type of trend. We have to be able to slope some of the banks, so that's why I picked a lot of the parks and areas where it doesn't affect private property or homeowners.
No, that makes sense. I know for me personally, I would be interested in having you come out. A lot of the work in my ward relates to Rochester Park, and maybe we could hold a community meeting there on site to talk with the residents who are interested to understand what we're actually doing.
Fully available for all
Okay.
that, and to attend any night meetings, public meetings, whatever you need to do to inform your individual residents and your individual districts.
Okay, I'll open it up for first comments or questions from members of the committee. Commissioner Klein, I'll get
So
to you.
including this on the website, can we make sure we get a banner on the front page that residents can find this right off the bat?
It will be under the engineering section of
Right.
of
But
the.
Nathan can Nathan can have a link on the front page that takes them right to it instead of them having to get to the engineering
That's fine.
site.
That's
So,
fine.
Like we did with the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
So explain the time frame. I know you said this starts a 30-day review process.
That's correct.
So when do you anticipate coming to the board for us at the June meeting?
If everything goes smoothly, yeah, we could come to the June meeting.
Let's assume everything goes
But it's
smoothly.
yes.
I like to be an optimist at some point.
Yeah, I'll be an optimist, and everything goes smoothly. We'll come to the June meeting, but again, there's no rush. We can come to the July or the August meeting. I mean, it's not like there's any pressure to
The
tonight.
only pressure is
to-
the September 16th date.
September 7th, that's the deadline. So by August, we have to have something approved so we can submit it.
And how long is if the permit is renewed, how long does the permit last for? What,
Permits for 5 years?
5 years?
5 years.
Which is that 5-year plan of the 900 or what, just under $1 million of those additional projects that you had slated in the third group?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's a very cost-effective program, what we got together now, as far as cost to the residents, because you're talking $200,000-300,000 a year, where many municipalities are looking $2 or $3 or $4 million a year for their program, and a lot of them don't get their permits approved. I think this is a sound start, and it will get us an approval as far as what we're planning to do.
So I did have some other questions. So this deals with the silt, reducing the silt content in the watersheds. I know what is it, not the Pennypack, the Wissahickon watershed is also dealing with a potential TMDL of phosphorus. Does this start to get into handling the township portion of what might become a larger effort to reduce the phosphorus levels in the Wissahickon?
Yes, all these projects have a phosphorus and a nutrient reduction in their calculations. So it does meet those requirements already as far as what we have to do in our end of it. I mean, it doesn't talk of the plant or what happens with the plant, but it does talk about the MS4 program.
And has this been coordinated with the group that's the 16 permit holders that are involved in the Wissahickon watershed TMDL?
I'll give a copy to George. I think George handles that end of the phosphorus end of it, so I'll make sure between George and I, we work together on that to see if this helps his program at all. I'm not sure if it does because, again, George's plant is not in Abington. It's
Well,
in
Georgia,
Upper
the
Dublin.
wastewater treatment plant is a separate permit holder.
Right.
As part of the Wissahickon watershed. The township, actually, Abington has 2 permits as part of the Wissahickon, which is the wastewater treatment plant and the township stormwater management MS4 permit. So
This
but
will
there is
handle
that
our-
group of 16 permit holders, including Philadelphia. This, at some point, I guess this should be also communicated to them because they are also working in collaboration to come up with an alternative plan that meets some potential TMDL for phosphorus.
We can share that with them.
Okay.
Commissioner Schreiber.
I have 2 questions, and I'm not even sure if these might be a little bit off topic, and I'm not even sure if they're for you, but if you could just indulge me and see if you can answer them or not. So the first, because you brought up the street sweepers no longer being, what we can use for this. When a car is leaking whatever they might leak onto the street, I would assume in the past it was swept along and then it went into our system that, down the drain. So I guess my question is, first of all, if you know that there's a car doing that, is there some mechanism to stop that, to contact that person whose car is, obviously leaking brake fluid or whatever it is, and how that impacts it? That's my first question. So you want to...
Well, there's a couple of things in place for that. The emergency management coordinator, he oversees a lot of that through the fire departments. Either the fire department or highway department will go out and put down the proper material to clean that up, and then that's all taken away and disposed of. It's not allowed to go into an inlet system, and it hasn't been allowed for quite some time now. So, if someone sees something like that, then it's reported either to our highway department or, like I said, to our police, and we'll get a hold of either highway and our emergency management people, and they'll deal with that issue as it occurs.
So it's on a reported basis, and then somebody comes and checks it out.
That's correct.
Okay. The second thing has to do with, recently, there was some kind of, it was actually in Ward 15, in the creek, there was I guess it was suspected from the businesses that there had been something that went into the creek. I'm not sure who I'm addressing this to, and I don't know how that's related to this, if it is, but...
I wasn't physically involved in that because I don't think I was here.
Was that for you, George?
I was there because we had to remove that chemical or wherever it was that was in the stream, and we actually used our vac truck to take it to the plant. We're actually holding it at the plant from the first spill.
So did we ever know what the source of that was?
We could never find the actual source of it, but there is a spot up on the Giant parking lot upstream from that first area right at Rosin School, which is the exact same color as what was in the creek. And it appeared to be some kind of paint type of material because the stain is still there on the parking lot in Giant, and rains haven't even washed it away. I couldn't even brush it away. That's how strong it was. So
And that's
we
not
don't know
everything.
exactly what it was, but we had it analyzed, and I had the report for the analysis, and it looks like it could have been some kind of material that's the base for the paint.
And
But-
did that end up did we get fined for that or in trouble for that at all?
No, there's no fine or anything. DEP was there when we were doing the cleanup and everything, so they were fully aware of it, so.
Thank you. I knew it was a little off topic, but since you brought it
No,
up.
it's exactly on topic. It's a hazardous spill,
Yep.
and it doesn't belong in the creek, really. It's what it comes to. So.
Exactly. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. Mike, I have a question from our resident, and it may be a little too early to determine this, but if there's various proposed cuts in the federal government, the EPA, things like that, would any of that, no pun intended, trickle down to our stuff here with federal funding? Could it impact that? Could we, could our plan adapt if those types of things are, if there's federal cuts? Could our plan adapt so that we still maintain the same protections, or do we have to change the permit, or is it a whole new ballgame?
I would think if that happens, because we also have that $2 million Army Corps of Engineers grant, if that went away, that would affect us greatly as far as our costs and doing the project. So, if the federal government does make cuts, and that will obviously come trickling down to us, because we have a lot of grants in place now that we're working on, and we're trying to follow through on, but that doesn't mean, somewhere along the line, if somebody pulls the plug, we'll have to come up with a plan B.
And we can adapt under our permit?
Oh, yeah, we can adapt. Okay. I mean, we're going to have to. I mean, obviously, if things change on us, we're going to have to come up with other solutions and figure out how to handle some of these problems.
Thank you.
Commissioner Markman.
So I think I asked this last year, but I don't recall the answer. What happens to the townships that don't comply?
Again, as far as I know, nothing's happened to any of the townships that didn't comply. But I can tell you, since in the forerun of this, we've done a lot of good work. Everybody looks at our program and is amazed by it. And like I said, I think we're one of 3 municipalities out of 3,000 that got a permit this last day.
So you're saying 2,997 municipalities in Pennsylvania don't comply?
Don't comply.
Interesting.
Commissioner Gillespie first.
Thank you. I just don't know how we get the word out to folks. I mean, we all have our emails we send out, and just how important it is. They see that storm sewer drain, and they just think they can put things down there for some reason. I just, if anybody can think of a way we can get this word out. Frustrating.
It's more or less, you're a resident, you see something happening, and most people need to talk to the person. We do have all our drains, we're marked, most of them, that they drain to the stream. We actually have them incorporated on our inlet covers now. We did get in trouble with some of the environmentalists because the water laid in there, so we had to cut a hole in to make sure we drained those so that we didn't have problems with mosquitoes. So it's an evolving program, and we're always looking for help and looking for making sure if people see a problem, let us know, and we'll try to address it.
And I do know that we're far, far ahead of most of the municipalities. I do know that from just over the last years, how much you have already done. And it's much appreciated, but if we could just get people to realize that little storm sewer, anything that goes down there, and even we have the memo we sent out about the grass clippings. People just go along putting their grass out in the street, and, so we send it out, but they still do it. So we're trying on our end.
So I'll get on my soapbox like I did every year with the TMDLs, but and Commissioner Sanchez kind of brought it up. I mean, the problem with the overall program is it's been primarily an unfunded mandate for all the municipalities and even any MS4 permit holders, because EPA and therefore designates DEP in the state of Pennsylvania to have to enforce these TMDL numbers that are in some cases onerous to get to. I mean, I know the whole conversation around the Wissahickon watershed is that the phosphorus levels are trying to do or the phosphorus levels they're trying to get down to in the Wissahickon watershed actually supersedes or goes beyond any of the current affordable reasonably affordable technology that a wastewater treatment plant, for instance, could do. I mean, we just did $11.5 million upgrade, 8, 10 years ago?
2008.
2008, and, the phosphorus levels that they're asking for would require us to rebuild our entire wastewater treatment plant. So I think it's, unfortunately, we're the last line of defense because we need to maintain our MS4 requirements. So it's not really a question of anything. It's just the problem with the township or with any municipality like Abington is we have to keep funding these things, and the money never trickles down. We get them some money through grants, but we're still left holding the bag here.
Yeah, the grant program has improved. I showed you the first stage of the thing. I don't think there was any grants for the first $1 million that we put out for the projects that we've done up to date. Now, a lot of these projects all have a little bit of stormwater help. They help with the stormwater requirements. They help with, preventing stormwater flows. So there's a lot of good things about what happens from. It's like the dam was built that really controlled all the stormwater down in the Ardsley area. And, it does a good job. So I think we've had other benefits other than just this TMDL problem. Right. But I think the Abington is trying to do its part, and we're trying to put together the best program we can without costing a lot of money to the residents.
Good work, Mike.
Yep, thank you. I guess I should invite other comments from members of the audience.
Hi, I'm Mark Schaefer. I just happen to be here. I'm a board member of Wisconsin Valley Watershed Association. I just want to express our appreciation for the work that Abington's doing in being a leader in this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, name and address for the record, please.
Dan Kiefer, 2020 Maplewood Avenue. Likewise, I just want to show appreciation for all the work the township is doing on water quality. This is really important. As a couple of comments have made, water quality in urban areas like ours is a matter of death by 1,000 duckbills. I think this is a bag that's worth holding, and especially to see the projects that are going to be taking place in public areas where we can see the results as citizens. I think it's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So I heard it touched on, and I didn't, or wasn't able to see well enough to see if this was covered in there. But last time when we were talking about this, I said we need an assessment of all of the sources of the problem. So was that in the presentation, all of the sources? Or some of the sources?
Would you care to answer the question?
Well, basically, the source of the problem is the erosion of the stream banks. That's the biggest problem with our program. This addresses that problem in many of the areas, especially park grounds and stuff like that. So, hopefully, I've answered your question. I'm not sure if I did or not.
So if erosion of the stream bank is the primary problem, and the total cost of this, if you add it, so I saw $3 million on one page, $4 million on another. What's the total cost?
Well, the total cost is $4 million, with about 230, about half of it coming from grant money. So right now we're at about half a stage with grant money. The other $2.3 million, we're hoping to reduce that even lower by getting additional grants for the projects that I said that we haven't applied for grants yet, but we've listed them so that once this is in our program, then it's a lot easier for us to apply for grants. We're working with the different watersheds, the Pennypack watershed, the Wissahickon, and the Tacony Frankfurt watershed, and we're working with them as far as grants constantly. If we can get the grant and then we can make the match, of course, if the cost of construction comes way down for us as residents of the township.
Okay. Well, we've discussed that before. I am not sure that I agree, because whatever grants we get, there are other townships getting those same grants, Wissahickon and all the others, to do their work, and we're paying for them as well. So it looks like our costs are coming down. We got the grant to come in, but the same people are going to pay for those grants in Wissahickon. So that is, and one of the concerns that I have, that the erosion of the stream bank is not dealing with, for instance, the zoning rewrites that we just passed. And if you look at just that one R1, R2 map change, where the residents told you that the 2 to 3 houses or 4 houses that was going to be there now can be 5 or 10 houses. And that adds to what we have in our creeks that's causing the problem. And those issues are extremely important. Commissioner Klein mentioned that the water treatment is an issue. Pennsylvania, I just got an article today, some of you probably saw it, that Pennsylvania is, only 2 states are worse than Pennsylvania in water quality. And we actually have chromium-6, the Aaron Brockovich chemical, in a great deal of our water that comes from Aqua PA, the main plant. So we need that particular. So if you think you're saving money by not redoing the water processing, you're not. You're actually already at a point where the water processing is not acceptable. And so we need not to spend, this is probably, what, $200 per household? $4 million is what, 20,000 households on $4 million? So we have about $200 a household in this particular project alone for stream bank erosion. Yeah. And now we're talking about all of the things that go into the creek, cleaning up the TMDLs, and we have so many other issues. This is not sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one other issue.
Powers.
We passed a very strong stormwater ordinance that deals with any kind of development. We actually are reducing the flows to our streams, cutting down the erosion by doing that, and also rain gardens and provided and seepage beds, which also help to reduce the pollutants and everything that are entering the stream. So Abington has met this head-on and is trying to address all those issues. So no matter what happens with the zoning rewrite, with that ordinance in place, you won't have any problems in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Nathan, I'd like to make one comment. I think in addition to putting the draft plan, if we could have the presentation from tonight linked onto there as well, I think that would be good. It's a good follow-along to give context to the presentation. You want to comment about the presentation, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with some of the other colleagues.
Sure. Name and address for the record,
Jim Sharp, 2073 Oakdale Avenue.
Yes.
I'm proud as an Abington resident that Abington's in the forefront of this. Mike, thanks for all your work. And I just want to encourage you to continue along these lines. I love to hear that Abington's in the forefront of this kind of work to take care of our world. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. So there's no vote to be taken tonight. So
no, again, it was a presentation, and like I said, we have a 30-day open comment from residents.
Yeah.
That all has to be included in this packet when we get all that. And commissioners also have a right to make comments and. Okay. And we can, like I said, we can tweak it, change it. We've got a couple months to do that if that's what everybody's desires.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Powers. Do you have one final question?
I did have one question. George, it was mentioned that our wastewater treatment plant is not treating the water and reducing the levels that are being put into the stream.
I think you said
I mean, aren't we?
No, we're meeting all our
MS4 requirements, and if I remember correctly,
well, we have an NPDS permit that governs
governs
the effluent discharge, and we're complying with everything that we have in our permit. Actually, the new permit for us, for the plant, we just received started May 1st. So we're at the very beginning of our 5-year time frame for our new permit.
I just wanted to make sure, because I thought I remember
that
our treatment plant is well within the range of the levels that we're supposed to be keeping. Sorry. Thank you.
I will now entertain comments from members of the audience on any general matters pertaining to Public Works. Hearing none, can I have, are you getting up?
In neighboring townships, Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane, in neighboring townships, we spoke before about the fact that, and it's soon to be, the pesticide spraying along the street sides, all the state roadways. So I had several people say they were going to help do something about that. That, again, goes into the streams. You can see clearly the pictures where they go right over the streams and keep spraying. Is anybody going to do something with it? One of the solutions from a neighboring township was that the local township would take care of any of the weeds. 90% of what I saw that was done, and I had other people sending me pictures, was not even necessary to do. It wasn't at all encroaching in the roadway.
Yeah.
So
let us, Commissioner Rothman would like to answer the question.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. Ms. Lehman, we did look into this, and we had drafted a resolution that we were going to present to the board, but it turns out that PennDOT has informed us that that program, in the way that you're familiar with, and rightly so to be concerned with, is not moving forward this year in the way it has in the past. I'm not sure if there's any plan to revise that and do any other work, but as of now, and I'd like to thank Commissioners Spiegelman and Sanchez for working with me on that, and the solicitors. But at this point in time, it seems that there's no need for us to take a stand. It would be sort of pointless at this point in time. Once we get any more information as to any program like that that would be considered, you can rest assured that there are many of us up here that are in agreement with you on that. But we'll have to look at this similar situation and how they plan to move forward with it at that time.
I thank you for that very much. Did you get notice before that they were going to do it? So, how much notice do you get in advance if they pick this up again?
That I don't know. I don't know if the solicitors want to answer that, or if we have anybody at the township that receives notice of that.
We don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
I sure don't.
It seemed like everybody got caught short on that. So if we decide that's over and next year they decide to reinstate it and we find out again after it's done, how can we prevent that?
Well, we'll ask. I mean, I think now having a brief hiatus, it gives us an opportunity to ask questions directly about what, as Commissioner Rothman indicated, what the alternative plans will be and what the timeline for those will be.
Okay. Can somebody get back to me on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hecker, if I could just very brief follow-up comment to Commissioner Rothman's. I know that our state rep's office is aware of the significant concern, to say the least, that spraying last year raised on the board and throughout the township, and so I know they're aware. They're cognizant of the fact that if they get wind that this program is ever going to restart, they will give us as much of a heads up as is possible.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Let's call to order the Code Enforcement and Land Development Committee meeting for May 3rd, 2017. And may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
DePlacia?
Here.
Savant?
Here.
Gillespie?
Here.
First, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 5th, 2017 Code Enforcement and Land Development Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the Code Enforcement and Land Development Committee has no business this evening. So I will entertain matters of general comment on Code Enforcement and Land Development. Commissioners on the committee, anyone on the board? Members of staff? No. Members of the audience?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. Very quickly to mention that map change again in the zoning ordinance revisions, which I find to be tragic for Abington, things like the 9-foot parking spaces and stuff, absolutely tragic. But the one that is absolutely mind-boggling is you had people here who had their rights taken away and given to somebody, and I asked Commissioner Bowman out in the hall, how can you take these people's rights away and give them to somebody else may have wanted something, they weren't here even asking, and his answer was, well, somebody wanted to put on an addition. Therefore, you took the R1 away from people who would then lose the green space and everything that they bought with their property. I don't understand that. It's wrong. It should be undone. And they shouldn't have to go through a lifelong process to get this changed. But whether or not you even will change it is debatable. I also want to you to know that I feel that the solicitation When they throw stuff on my lawn, that's litter. I don't want it. It's trash. I pick it up. I put it in the trash. But for some reason, they will not enforce the state laws that don't allow trash to be thrown on public property. We need another ordinance, something that works, so people can't come on my property and throw whatever they want, unless, if it's okay with you, I'll come and throw some stuff on your property. Okay? If you want me to, I will, until you say, "Uncle," and write something, so that can't be done. All right, so the next thing is, I spent 2 days in court listening to the Colonnade, Old York, whatever you want to call it. Again, special considerations were made that didn't have to do with code. Special things were written in court to allow them not to follow code like every other normal person, and they were given the right to have use and occupancies, even though all of the things that make the building safe for use and occupancies weren't done. And they agreed not to put people in until this was done and that was done. They violated that on almost every other occasion. We know that. That was not brought out by our attorney in court. And the other things that weren't brought out by our attorney in court are very, very detrimental to us, because they are suing us for money. Monetary damages are still on the table. That wasn't taken off. And so the fact that our attorney didn't put all of this stuff on record that they didn't do, and all the violations, and didn't require that to be of record, is significant. And it's damaging to us as residents. And again, benefits a landlord who has literally disregarded every code he could. And again, the third thing and last thing...
Your time's expired, Ms. Lehman.
Okay. But I would like to have
Thank you.
somebody address the fact that the code department is not enforcing codes of every sort all over the township. Vacant property, bamboo, safety in buildings, fire codes, everything. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Zapone.
The speaker, what was she referring to? What's in court? I mean,
I believe there was a hearing the other day.
There was a hearing spread out over 2 weeks in court regarding certificates of occupancy for the Colonnade.
so who's writing this stuff in as the speaker's saying it?
There was an agreement reached in consultation with township staff and the township manager regarding resolving issues regarding the certificates of occupancy.
In the presence of the judge. And
yes, and entered by Judge Haas.
What's his name, Judge what?
Haas, H-A-A-Z.
All right, thanks.
I think it's Z.
Anyone else? Any other members of the public? Seeing none, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Adjourn.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting of May 3rd, 2017. And can we have a roll call, please? Here.
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 Here. Here.
Thank you. And now a motion to approve the minutes of the April 5th, 2017 Public Safety Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes have been approved. Before we call on our police department chief, I just have a quick announcement, I guess I should say, that I'd like to talk about, or an article. And maybe some of you saw this in the Sunday paper. I brought enough for everybody. This is, I'm hoping to put this on the agenda for next month, but I wanted you to all have this in advance. And there's some for staff as well. This article is about volunteer firefighters and the shortage or the potential shortage in the future. One of the things that you'll note is on the second page of this, I put a little orange mark next to it so you would take note of a part about having a tax credit of up to $1,000 per year applied to the earned income tax for volunteer firefighters. And so I'd like us to consider it. I sent this article to our solicitor, I guess it was on Sunday or Monday or something, over the weekend, I think it was, after I read this in Sunday's paper. And Solicitor Clark has looked into this, and do you want to remark on that, or just wait till we discuss it next?
We have done the preliminary research on it. Act 172 of 2016 authorizes townships and other municipalities to grant local tax credits to volunteer firefighters and EMS volunteers. So we have taken a look at that. It is legal. What we do want to get together, and we'll get the memo together for the full board, is you have to take certain steps. Your ordinance to pass this has to be very detailed. So we're going to grab some ordinances that have been passed in some other municipalities to make sure that if the board does want to do this, that we're doing it exactly the way the Act requires us to do it, and also to make sure that all of the requirements and all of the procedures would be laid out properly. But it is legal to do, and we'll have a full memo for the board, hopefully by the beginning of next week.
Thank you. And we also are sending that by Kevin to see the financial implications of it, so we'll make sure that staff gets it. I wanted to have this in time before Fire Board, too, so Fire Marshal, I definitely have copies for you, but maybe we could put it on the agenda for Fire Board, which is about 2 weeks from now. Did you have a comment?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowman.
Yeah, I read the paper, too, in the Intelligencer. They had an article about Warminster started to take this matter up at their last board meeting. So, yeah, I would support this, too, for us. Thanks.
Commissioner Sapone.
This is also though for the first responders, like second alarmers and all. Is that? So it's not just restricted to the fire.
No, it's firefighters and volunteer firefighters and EMS volunteers.
It's for volunteers from the township. Okay. Yeah. Any other comments? Commissioner Klein?
Yeah, I sent Whip Paint just passed theirs last night, and I sent an email to Supervisor Booker to try to get a copy of their ordinance, so we had that as a reference. And to what you just said, I had a conversation after you and I spoke earlier today. Finance Director Barron had been to a conference where they discussed this at depth, and he had said he had a lot of material that he could share with you and the solicitor to get through this process, or to bring light to it.
Thank you for bringing that up to him already.
I do have a comment.
Commissioner
Thank you for doing this, Commissioner Schreiber, because I get very concerned about our volunteer firemen and women. Mm-hmm. They are so important to our township, and I think this is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. I just also want to commend you for bringing this up and for ultimately introducing this. I know, 1,000 years ago when I was on a volunteer ambulance corps, there was no plan like this in the works, but there was certainly, it was difficult to keep volunteers, and we ended up having some paid shifts, and as anyone on a volunteer or primarily volunteer first responder corps will tell you, when you have a mix of paid and unpaid, it's very confusing and disharmonious. I think this is a superior plan, and excited to see this come through. So thank you very much.
And again, before we move on, I do want to recognize that we do have EMS, our second alarmers, Rich Garrett out in the audience tonight. Now, moving on to Chief Livingood. Do you have a report for us this evening?
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. On the agenda tonight is the promotion of 3 sergeants to the rank of lieutenant. As previously discussed, we normally have 7 lieutenants, and by early in 2018, we plan to reduce that number to 6. We currently have only 3 lieutenants, so these promotions will get us to the 6 in numbers. On April 25th, we completed the last of 8 sessions of our department-wide training for 2017. Every sworn officer is required to attend 1 8-hour session during which we train and recertify them in a number of necessary skills and provide them other information and training which is required and which we think is important for them to have. Our non-sworn employees are also required to attend a smaller portion of the day to learn about topics that are relevant to their assignments. This year, we recertified our officers on handcuffing, baton usage, tasers, pepper spray, and CPR AED. We also trained them in ethics, bias-based policing, and gave them updates on what is occurring in the department, new information from human resources, and provided them an opportunity to ask questions and offer suggestions or comments. We also present commendations to officers who have been awarded them. The highlight of this year's training was a presentation on crash forensics. This portion of the training was given by Mr. Steve Shore and his son Justin. The Shores own DJS Associates Incorporated, which is located at 1603 Old York Road in Abington. DJS Associates is a forensic consulting, investigation, and engineering firm. Their skills and expertise are highly respected and sought after, and they have worked on some highly publicized cases all over the country. We are fortunate to have them right here in Abington, and even more fortunate that they provided this expertise and training to our officers, all 8 sessions, without charging us anything. At a future board meeting, we intend to bring both Steve and Justin Shore in and recognize them for this outstanding contribution to our police department. In the past, we had this department-wide training twice a year, or 16 hours per officer. But the commander of the department determined that we could accomplish this with one training this year, and Deputy Chief Pat Malloy did an excellent job juggling schedules and came up with a plan to accomplish this, and with the cooperation and assistance of every division and unit in the department, without spending any overtime, which was done in the past. The savings were significant. It's roughly in the area of at least $30,000 that we saved by doing this. So it's a credit to our division commanders and all those who helped do this that we're able to accomplish this and make it happen and still have the training that we needed. Tonight we distributed a copy of the quarterly report for the Automatic Red Light Enforcement Program, which covers the second quarter of 2016-2017, or November, December, and January. As you can see, the program is working, with crashes down 14% compared to the same period in year 2, and down 45% to the same period in year 1. After reviewing that, if you have any questions, please contact Officer Chris Posey or our Traffic Safety Manager, Officer Alan Freed, who's here tonight. I also wanted to briefly update you on what is going on with the opioid epidemic in Abington Township. From January 1st through April 30th this year, APD responded to 40 overdose calls, some of which included alcohol overdoses, Tylenol, miscellaneous drugs such as that. However, 15 of them were heroin overdoses. Abington Police administered Narcan in 4 cases. Second alarmers administered Narcan in 8 of the cases. All of the cases where Narcan was administered had positive results, except for 1 case where the victim did not survive. Of the 15 heroin overdoses, 2 resulted in death. 4 of the overdoses resulted in the arrest of the person who overdosed for possession of heroin. And by the way, that is one way that we have to get them into a system and get them some help. Montgomery County has a drug court, and if we can get them in there, it's a good chance that they can get some supervised help, which is the only way they're going to accept it. There was 3 overdoses reported on March 9th of this year. They were all related. They included a 31-year-old female and her 33-year-old boyfriend who overdosed twice in the same day. 4 of the heroin overdoses were referred to the hub. The hub also handled a number of other overdose cases besides the heroin ones, which are not included in this report. And we mentioned the hub in here before. It's a multidisciplinary group of individuals that meet. That is spearheaded by Lieutenant Kelly Warner, and it's also Sergeant Roger Gillespie is also instrumental in running that. They've had a great amount of success in helping people, and that's the reason that we try to refer these. We have made a concerted effort to follow up on each and every one of these overdoses that we have. We just don't give them Narcan, put them in an ambulance, and ship them off to the hospital. We're doing some follow-up to seeing what can be done to make sure that they are receiving some kind of assistance, some kind of help, and so that we can stop this vicious cycle. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. I also want to say that there was a recent panel discussion on the opioid addiction that was at the Abington Baptist Church, but Roger Gillespie was on that panel, and he did an excellent job.
Good.
He talked about the hub and some other things. Abington Hospital was there talking about the warm handoffs and things like that, so they did a nice job on that panel. Commissioner Gillespie was there as well.
Good.
Officer Freed.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just a reminder, it's now May, which means June is next month, which means our June traffic blitz is going to be starting up on the 1st. The signs are in, and hopefully we'll be starting to give those out the last 2 weeks of this month. I've already got a couple names on the list of people who want them, so feel free if you need some or any of your residents need them to contact the Traffic Safety Office, and we'll be glad to get them out to you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we're going to start our regular agenda then. PS1 is a motion to adopt. Okay, we're starting that again. PS1 is a motion to adopt ordinance number 2138, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 14, Stop Intersections, and Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 25, Parking Prohibited at all times, no parking between signs, no parking here to corner, parking prohibited except certain hours, no stopping or standing, at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners on May 11th, 2017, at 7:30 p.m., and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from commissioners, staff, or audience? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS2 is a motion to promote Sergeant Christopher Porter to the rank of probationary lieutenant effective May 12, 2017, provided he successfully completes the remaining portions of the promotional process, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS3 is a motion to promote Sergeant Stephen Fink to the rank of probationary lieutenant effective May 12, 2017, provided he successfully completes the remaining portions of the promotional process, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. PS4 is a motion to promote Sergeant Edward Quinn to the rank of probationary lieutenant effective May 12, 2017, provided he successfully completes the remaining portions of the promotional process, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our regular agenda. Are there any comments from the audience on public safety matters?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So we already have people living in the estate building, formerly called the estate building, on the property formerly called the Colonnade, now called 100 York. Do you know, Commissioner, as head of public safety, if all of the fire equipment and all of the conditions of the consent order from August 3rd are now met, or are they not met? I know they were not required in the estate building to all be met before people were moved in. So 2 questions I have is, number 1, did the people who were moved in know that? Okay, and know what the status of those units and things were, generators and pumps and whatnot? And number 2, do you, as head of public safety, get a report as to what the status of that situation is.
I don't get statuses on apartment buildings of who moves in and who doesn't, but Solicitor, do you want to address anything about the...
No. This is ongoing. There are still ongoing open matters, and I don't believe it's in the best interest of the township to be responding to these questions.
Thank you.
So,
Any other issues?
But I'm assuming from that answer that you yourself do not know. And I would like to say, I think it's really important for our public safety, the head of public safety, to understand these things that are being done. Once again, even though they didn't meet deadlines again and again and again, we have just made another agreement in court, to again allow them something that they had not earned properly, to get these use and occupancies, even though they were agreeing not to put anybody in. And part of what the issue here is that they had investors that if they didn't have those use and occupancies weren't going to give them money. And if that's the case, then what was being done was, in a sense, duping somebody else. So I think we've got some serious issues, and I would ask each of you, not one of you or two of you, not just the head of public safety. This cuts across code enforcement, this cuts across public affairs, this cuts across all of your interests, and I wish all of you would get up to speed on all of the details of this. I'm going to leave the other issues go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the audience? Or any other commissioners? We are adjourned.
All right. It is my pleasure to call to order the Public Affairs Committee meeting of the Township of Abington for May 3rd, 2017. And let us start with the roll call.
Commissioner Spiegelman?
Here.
Bowman?
Here.
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 Kalinowski?
Here. Everybody's here. Let us start quickly with the approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of the April 5th, 27 Public Affairs Committee, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any changes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. And now, someone who's been waiting all night to present. We have a very special guest. The new director of the Abington Arts Center is going to give us a report. So it's my pleasure to welcome Hannah Iverson.
Hi there. Hello, hello. And thank you so much to the whole township for having me here. And I brought summer brochures. I have those on
You could certainly hand those out, but then just make sure you speak in the mic so that the folks at home watching, because we have actually a huge viewer audience at home. I would call it vast, and they're going to want to hear.
Well, then I'll change my whole program. It's a talent show. I apologize if I didn't bring enough brochures. But first, I want to thank the township and thank you, John Spiegelman, and everyone assembled for having me here. It is a real honor to be able to be here tonight. As you know, I'm Hannah Iverson, and I am the new Executive Artistic Director of Abington Arts Center. As you also probably know, Abington Arts Center has been through a few years of transition, and so I'm hoping to bring stability, stability and hopefully some common sense to the table. And we are actually on the road towards building Abington Arts Center to being a more stable organization and to moving into version 2.0. With Abington Arts Center's new vision, we are a cultural collaborative laboratory. We're a platform for participation. We're taking a turn to the digital, building STEAM initiatives, and we're expanding the facilities to include a makerspace, which, as you know, is already up. We're doing design thinking education initiatives, and we have a new partnership with Penn State Abington, and we're fostering social entrepreneurship. So all of this kind of, how do you say art, corresponds with this, and actually artists today have really taken up the mantle of social participation, social action. Public artists are very involved. Some of the initiatives that you're talking about having problems with, I'm thinking to myself, I have some art ideas about how to solve some of them, or at least participate, not solve, but participate in them. So there's just all kinds of ways that arts and culture can be, very participatory with some of the social and, infrastructure needs of a community. One of the platforms that I was brought in on, or actually the platform I was brought in on, was art, ecology, and technology. And this actually is because I have been working on a very large-scale ecology and technology project with what is known as an ecological artist. And ecological artists are artists who actually work with the landscape and they're actually trying to create sustainable solutions for the landscape, using the landscape in both a scientific and an aesthetic way. So instead of inserting something into the landscape, they're actually trying to build things that are supportive of the landscape. So I came in thinking about water because my project has to deal with water, and as you know, because of all of the presentations that have been going on today and all of your own initiatives, that Philadelphia has the largest urban green space in the United States, and it is, positioning itself to be a leader in the country's effort towards a sustainable future. So I applaud you all for all of the work that you're doing with the watershed. Because that is actually something that I'm very interested in. So I'm here to support Andy and the township and all of the efforts towards sustaining the watershed. The watershed that goes through Alverthorpe is the Tookanee Frankfurt watershed, and we've already been in touch with Julie Slavitt from the Tookanee Frankfurt project, who is very interested in, talking to William Penn, who does their funding, to actually try to work with some of our ecology. And I'm interested in supporting that and also building an art project with it. So there's a way to do art and technology and ecology and have everybody come out the better for it. And I actually think that when you're thinking about how do you draw attention to some of the ecological initiatives, how do you make people aware of sewer systems, artists are really great at doing that. Artists are really great at creating public art installations that heighten awareness. So I just want to say that we would be really happy to work with you on the initiatives that support both the township and all of your efforts and the things that we're trying to achieve. The other thing that we are working on is, and I have to say that my way of working is that everything I do is site-specific. So I always think of, I'm a site-specific public artist is how I came into this. And so I was absolutely intrigued by the mansion when I first arrived, and I knew nothing really about it, and was delighted to find out that it was the former home of Lessing J. Rosenwald, because my family is a Chicago Jewish family, and so was Julius Rosenwald. And so there's a real alignment between my family and the Rosenwald family. And Julius Rosenwald, as you all probably know, is the co-founder of Sears, Roebuck and Company, and Lessing, his son, actually wanted to follow in the footsteps of his father. So what I don't know, if you know, is that Julius Rosenwald was a tremendous philanthropist. He started the Rosenwald Fund, which in collaboration with Booker T. Washington was dedicated to building over 5,000 one-room schoolhouses throughout the South. His issue was the education of the African American population. He felt it was that racism was the biggest problem in our country. And so Lessing was his oldest son, and he was sent to the East Coast, and he too wanted to give a gift to the United States. However, his avocation, which became his vocation, was collecting art. And so he has a tremendous collection, or had a tremendous collection, of rare books, manuscripts, and prints, which he collected always from the very beginning as a gift to the United States. It is the largest gift of art ever given to the United States, and it is now residing in the Library of Congress and the National Gallery of Art. And I really have to thank Andy Oles, who said, oh, if you're going to Washington, you should go to the Library of Congress, because I did. And it was one of those, I could have had a V8 moments, you know. I can't believe that I'm this old, and I had never been to the Library of Congress before. And in fact, there's a Rosenwald room with a Rosenwald curator, and I met with her, and it was a meeting of minds. And we kind of cooked up this fantastic project. And we went marching over to the National Gallery of Art, and we talked to them, and they are also interested. And so right at the moment, I am in the midst of a partnership with the National Gallery of Art, the Library of Congress, and Abington Art Center to reconnect the collection and to connect it back to Alvethorpe Manor digitally. So we're doing a large-scale digital public history project, and it's going to include stories and anecdotes, oral histories from everyone who knew Lessing Rosenwald, everyone who was participating in the collection, and his family. And I reached out to the Rosenwald family, and they actually recognized in me what I recognized in them. It was like, oh, we get each other, and they are very interested and supportive. So I just want to say it was a really sort of a timely moment that we all came together on this. The other sort of community partnership that we have is a partnership with Penn State Abington. And we have already, we're in the end of year 2. This started before I came on board. And as you all know, I'm sure, Damian Fernandez, who's the new chancellor, and he and I have a very good rapport and a very good relationship, and we both found ourselves inheriting a program that we've started to try and shape in new and different ways. And it's been really terrific. We have the makerspace. We already have Penn State students who are at the Manor. But we also just recently on Saturday had an empathy hack. And if you'll bear with me for just a minute, I would like to share with you a result of this. One of the things about our empathy hack, it was really a design thinking workshop, to let you know. But we asked the participants, and we had some fantastic, very high-end technology thinkers, leaders of, of design thinking, leaders in architecture and public space. We asked them to think about things that would be projects that Abington Art Center could take forward. And in fact, one of them was focused on public health, and one of them, that public health project, was actually focused on the opioid problem in Abington. And they came up with a really interesting sort of, germ of an idea, and it is something where, once again, this is a place where Abington Art Center can intersect in ways that might be supportive of some of the initiatives that you would like to do. We really want to work with the community, and we're really, thinking about this place when we're putting our brains to it. The other groups were cultural heritage, accessibility technologies, and the ability to try and create greater accessibility. One of our panelists was blind, and we're trying to put together a database for accessibilities and accessibility technology and cultural heritage. And interestingly enough, the cultural heritage group started to focus on water. So water and cultural heritage go together. They flow down the same river. So anyways, here is just oops, wait a second. I want to go backwards, and I want to play this for you. What? Scroll up. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So that was Saturday. We're still in recovery. And that's it, really. Thank you. We continue to have our exhibitions and our studio school and all of the regular offerings that Abington Arts Center has had in the past, but we are really pointing towards a kind of a new future. So thank you very much.
Hannah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think we're all really excited to see what's going on now and where things are going. Any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Iverson? All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Andy, I just wanted to tell you that was the RV. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
And speaking of Andy, we have. Oh, no. We're gonna move on. We have a lot to get to. I just wanted to see if any commissioners had any questions. That wasn't it. No, Ms. Lehman, we're moving on. Our next item, smooth transition, as I attempted. Speaking of Andy, we have our monthly welcome presentation from Parks and Rec Bureau Director Andy Oles.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. I have a short report this month.
Short is
Just
good.
to let everyone know, our summer tickets are in now, so they'll be on sale at the main office. I think we have them almost all in, so possibly give a call first. One or two we're waiting to clear up some stuff with the organization. So summer tickets are on sale. We have an Annapolis trip coming up on Saturday, May 20th, day on your own trip down to Annapolis. It should be a nice time. I know it's getting close to commissioning week down there, so there should be a lot going on in the town. We're running a trip to D.C. on Wednesday, July 12th. Again, that's another day on your own. There's a lot to do down there where you could go to the Library of Congress or the National Art Gallery and see some of these projects from Rosenwald collection. Another note, we have the Montgomery County Senior Games is starting next week, and that is for any resident of Montgomery County 50 years or older. It's a multiple township initiative where we host games for a week. Various games through various townships all support this. Last year we had 450 seniors participate. We're one of the bigger senior games out of Montgomery County, Bucks, and Delaware County, I think. So that's it's open to anybody. Their website is www.montcoseniorgames.com if you want some more information. But Abington has always been a participant in that. We host a couple of the events and help run them. And just so everyone knows, Applethorpe Park summer hours began on Monday. The park is now open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So that is my report.
Thank you kindly, sir. All right,
Chairman
now,
Spiegelman.
at last. Oh, Commissioner DePlacy.
I just have a quick comment and a question for Director Oles. First, thank you for answering all my emails over the weekend about the grass. And I was just hoping that you could update the commissioners here and the cameras on this new schedule that we'll have for the mowing of our fields.
Sure. So unfortunately, there has been some issues with the grass cutting in a lot of our parks. This has happened before. We did pick up a new contractor. This is their first time having this contract. And the first week, unfortunately, they got a late start, so have been playing catch up. I have been in constant contact with that contractor almost every day, lots of times, several times a day. They have assured me that after this week they will be caught up. They have had crews out, not just on their regular schedule, but every day to get caught up. I've met with their foreman several times out on sites to go over exactly what we're looking for, and have let him know that we'll be checking up on them as well. I gave him some directives to possibly cut the major parks where a lot of our playing fields, like if they're at the end of their cutting cycle, so let's say if their schedule is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I told them, hey, cut those fields on Wednesday so that we get through the weekends. So I gave him that advice. He still has to cut everything else, but to maintain the ball fields. I've also informed them that starting next week, their grace period is pretty much over. They're going to get caught up. That, the repercussions are if we have to go out and cut, we will, and they'll pay for it. We will back charge them if necessary. I think they understand that greatly, and they're taking it seriously. I don't, anytime I've called, they're not blowing us off at all. They are 100% know they got a late start and are doing everything they can to rectify it. So,
Great. Thanks for
But
following.
if you do have
That's
things
great.
that come up, if something does get missed, by all means, please give our office a call. Let me know. Many of the commissioners have, and as you know, I will get on that as quickly as possible, and sometimes it's within a half hour. But I am on top of it. I have been in constant contact with both contractors, and unfortunately, the spring has not been real helpful for them or us. I mean, just the conditions this spring, and I'm not making excuses for them. The grass is growing fast, and I mean, and the couple of rainy days we have, they hurt them when they can't put equipment on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an excuse, but it's a perfect storm type situation where the grass is growing fast, and this one happens to be behind, but they're making every effort to catch up, and I've witnessed it, so I know that they're doing it. But
Great.
by all means, catch up with me if you see something that's off, not looking right. Let me know, and I'll make sure that they're on it as soon as possible.
Commissioner Zapone, did you have a question?
Andy, I want to thank you for taking care of those issues in my ward, and thanks for getting back to me within, I think the other day was 15 minutes. So keep up the good work. You're doing a great job.
I'm fortunate. Most of the emails come right to my phone.
You
so.
got right back to me.
And I carry the mowing contract in my car with me, so if I'm in the car.
Took care of the issues for me, and I really appreciate it.
That's a little weird, but thank you.
It wouldn't be weird if you were sitting in my seat.
Any other questions from commissioners? All right, Andy, thank you very much, and thank you for putting up with all the harassment from me. And I'll tell you, we're going to post the cell phone numbers of all those people at that contractor if we need to. I'll publicly shame them.
I'll take it.
No, thank you. It's much appreciated. All right, at last, our formal agenda, which consists of 3 items, the first of which is PA1, the data center upgrade. This is a motion authorizing the proper township officials to contract with MJM Systems Incorporated for a 5-year term in an amount not to exceed $160,000 for the data center upgrade. Funds will be drawn from capital accounts reserved for this purpose, and I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I know we sort of discussed this in the past. I think it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to open it up to questions from first members of the committee. Commissioners in general. Commissioner Klein, you look like you have a question.
I do. What was the budgeted amount for this?
That is a good question that I don't have in front of me, and unfortunately we don't have our assistant township manager here. But wait a second, we have Nathan, our IT director guy.
So you gotta come up and use.
You need a microphone. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And name and address. Waited for this for a long time.
So we budgeted, or I would say we had about 110 or 15 budgeted because we had money left over from projects we didn't do last year. We held them over to try to do them in this one big project. So say about 110, 115, I don't have the exact number, but it came in above what we thought for a couple reasons. One of them was we initially thought we might reuse some of our existing hardware. We ended up not going that route. And what was the other reason? The other reason is we also thought we could save some money in the long run by opting into 5 years for licenses, warranties, and all that up, and settle that agreement up front instead of doing 3 years originally and then having to extend it. And that saves money in the long run, but it costs a little more up front.
So where are we, so your $45,000, how are we?
So we have the option to lease, to finance it for 5 years. So Kevin can tell you exactly, how we're going to pay what and when, but what we have budgeted now, we have, I think the financing agreement is something like $2,200 a month for 60 months. So basically we, put in for future capital 2 or 3 years down the road, the balance.
Can we get more information on that one for the board meeting next week?
Yeah, Kevin can tell you exactly what the numbers are, but that's basically the.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Commissioner Klein. Any other questions from the board?
Hey, while you're up there, did you just celebrate a birthday?
I may have.
Okay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
We relish public embarrassment here. Any questions from township staff? Members of our audience? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
PA1 is approved. PA2. This is a motion to adopt resolution number 17-016, authorizing the disposition of right-to-know requests dated April 2015 and prior, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is sort of a periodic administrative matter.
I have a question,
By all means, I guess this is the night of asking questions that I am not in a position to answer because I'm.
And this might be for our solicitor. Can you write a right-to-know request for right-to-knows?
You can.
Okay.
The document.
That's like when you're on camera and there's a monitor behind you and it shows you on the monitor and on the camera. It's just like that.
I got a question.
Commissioner Kalinowski.
That's another question. Do we charge for copies of documents for right to know?
We do.
We do. Okay. And that is per state law, right?
Per state law, and the state law is woefully inadequate for all of these municipalities because there's a limit on what you can charge, and it doesn't take into account the significant amount of staff time that is often devoted to both legitimate but very often frivolous right-to-know requests. But the state legislature, which exempts itself from the right-to-know law, doesn't really worry about what it's costing local municipalities.
And let's not forget the rising cost of quality paper. Commissioner
One other
Schreiber.
quick question.
One more follow-up. I'm sorry. One more follow-up. Do we charge the maximum of what the state law allows?
I believe we do. I think we charge what we're allowed to charge under state law, but I candidly, I haven't taken a look at that.
That was another question, but that's good. Thank you.
And do we have to keep those records for any certain length of time?
Under the Record Retentions Act, we follow everything that we're supposed to do with regards to how long we retain records, and I think we do a very good job of systematically and consistently disposing of records when the time limit has expired for how long we have to keep them.
Thank you, Solicitor Clark. Any other questions from commissioners? Township staff? Members of our audience?
The Township Manager has received...
Name and address, please. For the
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. And the Township Manager has received a request, a right-to-know request for the right-to-knows, which were very revealing last time. Okay? For instance, the code director in one of the right-to-knows. Well, we won't go into that. But, okay, they're very revealing. And so in the matter of disposal, they're not to be disposed of. I assume the solicitor knows that a right-to-know has been received, or perhaps he may not.
Address. You need to address the chair.
So just so that you don't hit the gavel and burn them tonight. Okay.
They don't let me, first of all, they don't let me operate any fire producing, because
Yeah.
that went badly last time.
Yeah.
And this is going to just, if this comes out of committee, it'll of course be voted on by the board next week, but thank you for.
And I do just want to say, au contraire, Mr. Solicitor, because the amount of money that it costs you to provide these right-to-know documents is unbelievable in the things that we see in them and how our money is being spent. And only a teeny fraction of that money is spent gathering and dealing with these documents, and the amount of change that can be made when we have those documents is enormous. And I think I could probably give you a list of all the things that have been saved. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Solicitor Clark, just to clarify, we are fully able to move forward with this.
Most certainly are.
All right, fantastic. All right then, let's go ahead and vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
PA2 has passed. And now, the moment that so much of our audience has been very patiently waiting for, PA3. This is resolution number 17-017, gerrymandering of districts. This is a motion to adopt resolution number 17-017 in support of a Citizens Commission for Legislative and Congressional Redistricting, and I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Now, I know that the folks who came out tonight are extremely well-versed in this topic, and I've provided some materials that were actually provided to me by the excellent organization Fair Districts PA, fairdistrictspa.com, who really one of the driving engines behind this this legislation, and asking our individual municipalities to support this legislation. So I'm not going to go into a huge overview. I did supply some materials to fellow commissioners, and in addition, those materials will be, I'm going to ask Nathan to put them on the website. I do want to let people know, and I'll give an overview in a second, but for what I think will be a very educational overview on the topic of redistricting, there is a Fair Districts PA meeting coming up on Wednesday, May 17th, 7 to 9 p.m. It's going to be at the Abington Friends Meeting House, the old Friends Meeting House. That's 520 Meeting House Road in Jenkintown, near the Art Center in Alverthorpe Park. And you're going to want to go to fairdistrictspa.com to RSVP because there is limited seating, but it should be very educational. I plan on going and talking about what happens tonight and this week. So basically, this is a resolution in support of the creation of a nonpartisan, non-political citizens commission to handle the redistricting of state legislature seats, state senate districts. State legislative districts, state senate districts, and congressional districts. That happens after every census. Right now, it is politically based. How redistricting happens depends on which party has the majority in the state legislature at the time, and that ultimately leads to gerrymandering, which leads to people's votes not counting and people not being properly represented. It's something that I think hurts everyone. The legislation that we're supporting in the current form is in two forms, one in the State House, one in the State Senate. In the State Senate, it is State Senate Bill 22, and in the State House, State Legislature, it is House Bill 722, and they basically do the same thing, establishing this commission. So I know a lot of folks want to speak their minds. Nobody wants to hear me talk anymore. So first, I'm going to ask for comments from our committee, Commissioner Rothman, and then Commissioner Zappone after that.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. I don't have much to say. I just think that if we as a board, frankly as a community and beyond, wish to take a stand and work towards making politics less partisan, which I personally do, then I think there's no doubt that we need to approve and support this resolution. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman. I'm actually going to call Commissioner Kalinowski, I saw, and then Commissioner Bowman. Commissioner Zappone, I'll get to you afterwards. Just want to go through the folks on the committee first. Commissioner Kalinowski.
So I did some research myself, and I look forward to hearing the discussion of our guests here tonight before I make any comments. So
okay,
that's all I can say.
Commissioner Bowman.
Just that I support the resolution as a person in Ward 15 that has had to vote at various times either for different congressional districts because the gerrymandering line came right down Fitzwatertown Road and gobbled up, one part of one ward, 15-1, or 15-2, and not 15-1. So yes, we would like some clarity as to who our U.S. representative is on any given years, and I'm fully supportive of this motion.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Bowman. All right, so we'll open up to the commissioners in general. Commissioner Zappone.
Just a couple of questions. I guess to the solicitor, is this mandated by the state, Mike?
No, it is not. This is purely a resolution encouraging members of the state Senate and members of the State House to address these issues. There's no requirement for us to do this.
Okay, so do we know anything about the selection process? Who does the picking of the committee people? Do we know any of that?
I do not. I know that it's all written out in what this group is doing, but I don't have any personal knowledge about that.
I mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
I do have that right here if you're...
Yeah,
Commissioner's opponent said, the new bill is modeled after a similar plan in California. It will begin the process of changing the state constitution to create a new 11-member redistricting commission composed of citizen volunteers without ties to elected officials who meet additional criteria to be specified by the legislature. Using those criteria, the Pennsylvania Secretary of State would create 3 pools of qualified candidates, with 1 pool representing each of the major parties and a third composed of a third party or independent voters. No elected officials, candidates, political party officials, their aides or spouses would be eligible to serve, nor would anyone who has recently served in such a capacity. Legislative leaders from both houses and parties would be able to strike a designated number of candidates from each pool. So that's pretty much how the commission would be created.
And thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. And Commissioner Zappone, I'll add to that. I'll make sure that with all this other material, we have links to copies of the Senate bill and the House bill, which are basically the same. There is all the criteria are spelled out. It's a long to go through, but they're all spelled out in Senate Bill 22.
And I did some research myself on the fair districts thing, and they don't have high regards for this at all, from the information I pulled up and read this afternoon. So I just wanted to mention that.
They don't have high regards for gerrymandering, or for the...
For this
Resolution?
resolution.
Which resolution?
Right here.
No,
The resolution with the
Fair
resolution.
districts, PA, not as fair as you think it is. Let's solve gerrymandering. This is eye candy to anyone watching the political process devolve in front of us. But not all these ideas are good ones. Some are even worse than the problem itself. So then it goes on. There's a couple pages here.
Where did you get that information?
Who wrote that?
Where did you get that information?
It was the Fair District, PA.
No. Where did you get it? That's the name of what you're talking about. Where did you get that review of Fair District, PA?
Huffington Post.
Oh.
I didn't.
Say again?
Hold on. We can't just call out.
Yeah.
Can't just call out.
No worries. You guys would be we're so close to comments.
Oh, no, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just trying to educate myself.
No, that's good. Research that's a good thing. Any other comments or questions from commissioners before we... Commissioner Farron.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. You just said the Senate and the House bill, you're going to email us, or you're going to post?
They're available as PDF files online, so we can just get copies right from the House and Senate websites. We can post links and post the actual documents. We do whatever we want.
Great, okay.
I'll email them to you. We'll do everything. I will bombard
I can find them online. Thank you.
we located the name of the author.
Yes.
It is Joe the Nerd Ferraro.
How do you know Joe the Nerd?
Well, we found it on here.
Yeah, I actually know that name from various
He's
websites.
a Huffington Post contributor.
Well, all right then. Now we know. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
And just for the record, I did not call him the nerd.
No,
That's
that
what he writes on the...
That is his established...
That's what I thought you called.
I could tell by my colleague's reaction here, and then I looked up and saw a camera there, and I just thought that I would just make it clear that was not...
Sure. Commissioner Sanchez and I were just calling you Commissioner the Nerd.
Would be.
Commissioner Rothman,
See,
I like it.
we're dividing
Thank you.
already.
I got that. You'd have to step up.
Township staff. All right, so now we will open it up to our audience. There is one person who signed up, so we're going to start with her, but anyone can come up after that. If you could please stay. Actually, Rebecca Landau is the first person who signed up, so we'll call her up first, but then everyone can come up in whatever order. Please kindly state your name and address for the record, and if you could try to limit your comments to 3 minutes if possible.
It won't even be. My name's Rebecca Landau, and I live at 739 Beta Road. What I want to say is that the way the Pennsylvania elected legislators draw the districts, they now draw the district lines for voting. And this is definitely a conflict of interest because it's in the legislator's interest to draw the lines to keep himself in power. And the legislators have access to individual citizens, how they vote in elections, so they can create districts that are polarized and develop partisanship. So you can see this in Montgomery County. We have a population that warrants enough to have a representative in Congress, but we are split into, I think, five districts, and we don't have a representative for us. Now, John and Ben actually covered some of the information I was going to give, but if there's an independent commission, they would not, like the politicians, have access to all this voting information on an individual, and this would eliminate a lot of the bias and polarization, and also the lines as they're drawn now, or the way the districts are drawn, they don't actually comply with some of the regulations that are now in force. And as of April 26, but actually there's been a couple more municipalities that have been writing resolutions in favor of redrawing the district lines. And there's, in Montgomery County, there's at least 5, because one just did the other day, but I have...
Whitpain just did, no, not Whitpain, White Marsh. White Marsh just did the other day, unanimously.
But there's Ambler Borough, West Conshohocken Borough, Lower Merion Township, and North Wells Borough have put in resolutions in favor of the reforming the drawing of district lines. And I urge Abington Township to join other boroughs and adopt this resolution of supporting a citizens commission for legislative and congressional redistricting. And it shouldn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, because it's the right thing to do to give the citizens a vote in our democratic process. And I thank you, and I'd also like to say, if somebody's interested, although mine's not, there's a presentation that is gerrymandering in Montgomery County that speaks specifically about the gerrymandering in Montgomery County. If someone doesn't have it, I'd be glad to email it.
I sent it to
send
him,
it. And also,
We'll put
I
that
know
online,
there's
too.
people from Fair Districts, League of Women Voters, and they can hopefully clarify anything that's not clear. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Who's next? Again, please name and address for the record.
Guys, Jim Sharp again at 2073 Oakdale Avenue. And I guess, I wanted to thank you, John, in particular, for bringing forth this resolution. I agree with the woman who just spoke in front of me that it's really important for townships and municipalities to speak for their citizens. One of the things I found with this whole concept of redistricting and gerrymandering, if I speak to friends, whether they be conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, everybody thinks the existing system is unfair. Everybody thinks the existing system is not transparent. But everybody feels like, well, there's nothing we can do. This is one issue where Democrats and Republicans both believe that this is always has been unfair, and we can change this. It's a difficult process. It's a couple of sessions of, the legislator has to approve it. We have to change the Constitution, but we have 2 or 3 years to do it before the census, or another 10 years will go away of this injustice. But everybody believes that this is the right thing to do. So I'd ask you, one, not to get too bogged down in the specifics maybe of how the committee might be established, but the idea is let's get independent, non-political people to draw this up in a fair way, whether it's through mathematical algorithms or whether it's through, how do we, most fairly represent people's votes to pick our politicians. But I'd urge you not to get too bogged down in the specifics. Get this concept ahead to the whole council and be, again, a leader in Abington, in the 3,000 municipalities in the state or whatever. Be one of the first 40 or 50 people that are saying, this is the right thing to do, and we can do it. And it's so important for whether it's Madeline Dean or Art Hayward to hear from a larger body rather than just an individual here or an individual there, somebody who shows up at every meeting with something to say. This is like a whole township saying, our people think that this is the right thing to do. That means a lot. So I would urge you to pass it to the larger group and the commissioners to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharp. And while the next person decides who wants to come up, I want to say thank you very much for your kind words. I have to give credit to Commissioner Sanchez, who was crucial in moving this forward. We worked together on this, and I outsource a lot of my higher thinking to him because I get headaches when it gets too hot up there. So thank you, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman.
Hello, my name is Nina Bisbee. I live at 160 Woodpecker Road in Abington, and I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has said, but I just want to reiterate how important I think this is for democracy, and I think the stakes are very high. We can see our country seems, I think, more polarized than it actually is, and I think this gerrymandering is really at the root of it, and I think we all have to send a message that it has to stop. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
My name is Dan Kiefer, 2020 Maplewood Avenue. I just want to express my support for this resolution and reinforce the points made about the hyperpartisanship, and this is something that we can do about that. If you have any questions about this, because it is such a big deal, something that would lead to amending the Constitution, I encourage you to look into it. Let that fact sink in. The Montgomery County is represented by 5 different representatives, and no representative lives in Montgomery County. So it just is a reflection on how hyper-partisan the gridlock that is gripped our politics, and this is something we can start to take it back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiefer. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Merrill Hyatt, 1829 Allen Lane, and I agree with everything that everybody's already said, and I just have a little anecdotal story. My brother works for Head Start in Harrisburg, and he is always talking about the stories that he has of the difficulties of getting things done, because there's so many people that are sure they're going to get reelected, so they don't need to collaborate with other people. And he's trying to, work on a Head Start program helping the children in our state. And he has representatives that will just refuse to see him because they don't have any motivation because of gerrymandering.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Annette Baltz, 1259 Cox Road. Really just agreeing with everybody else. I think it's a big threat to democracy that such terrible gerrymandering is going on. And I've found that Pennsylvania has a terrible reputation for it. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Annette Petrick, 228 Cadwalader Avenue, and I just hope you do support this effort. I really believe that it's so important that everyone learns and really knows that their vote counts. And it's not a matter of, it doesn't matter. It really does, and we need to help support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Oh, come on up.
I'm Mark Schaefer. I do not live in Abington. However, I will be the one making the presentation that you referred to for fair districts, and I will make that presentation available to the committee afterwards, or even before if you'd like.
Before would be great, actually.
Yeah. And if there are any other questions anybody has specifically, I'd be happy to answer them tonight afterwards. And to that HuffPost commentator, Mr.
for our...
Ferrero, he is a stalker of fair districts, and his plan is one of a cartographer contest that everyone submits a map, and then the citizens vote on which map is best, and whatever map wins, that person becomes a Pennsylvania cartographer for 10 years. So we don't think that really works, and this approach is based on what has worked in California. So there is a there. And again, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to stay and answer them.
Thank you. I got to say, I give him points for creativity, but any other comments from our audience? Commissioner Sapone.
I just want to follow up with something. I don't want anybody to get the impression I'm against this. I'm not. I'm for it. Because the last time they redistricted, my ward got screwed. Okay?
I remember that.
I was involved, firsthand with this. So, and I had 2 state reps, and it was a mess. Okay, so I was involved in this the last time, over 10 years ago. So,
thank you, Dennis. Commissioner Sapone. Commissioner Farron.
Thank you, Commissioner Speaker. I'm just curious, because the meeting is May 17th, I think that we were invited to and is being presented. Would it behoove us to hold off on this vote until that meeting takes place, where there's a larger input opportunity for us as commissioners to then, for those who can go, talk to the residents, come back maybe next month with much more input than reading this resolution and moving on that? But this might give us better insight to hash out some of the questions that we might want to have, and frankly, that people might not want to ask at 9:47 at night. But if we had the chance to go to this meeting, ask those questions earlier, hash some of those things out, it might provide better insight into the discussion.
I see your point, and I know Commissioner.
And I see
Karnowski
some of my colleagues shaking their heads no. That's bipartisanship right there.
That is, see how
Both saying no. And for the record, I'm in favor of considering this as well. I'm just wondering if we're going to have this meeting, if it might make more sense, logically to follow in a chronological order.
I think that we will definitely have access, as Mr. Schaefer said, to everything that's going to be presented there. I think the idea is, and again, I'll get to my colleagues. I'm not going to yammer on any more than I already have, but I think the idea is to really try to get some momentum for this, because ultimately what we're doing is we're just sending a message to the state Senate and the state House. And again, I'll as a side note, both of these, House Bill 722 and State Senate Bill 22 were both introduced in a bipartisan way. They both have bipartisan sponsorship. I think the idea is we're trying to build momentum for a critical mass from as many municipalities across the Commonwealth as possible to say, move on this and get this done, because we are sort of on the clock. I mean, before we know it, the next census will be here. But
what's the timeline on that when you're talking urging them? Are they planning on voting on it next month?
Well, it has to, these things have to come out of committee, and that's, as I know, if you've ever talked to our
Sure.
state rep or state senator, that can be very complicated. But I think if there's a groundswell of support and a lot of momentum, then I think the pressure on them will reach all the way to Harrisburg from every corner of the Commonwealth.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering if the impetus to move this so quickly is a little bit cart before the horse. If they're not voting on it next month anyway, there's no necessarily a rush for us to approve this. And then the second question of that, as much as we might want to be in the forefront of it, and I like that Abington is oftentimes in the forefront, are we the only ones going forward and passing this resolution right now? Or how many other, when we're saying we're joining momentum, what does that mean? Is that 1 or 2 other townships in the state out of 3,000, or are we going to be one of 200 in the next 20 days?
I'm going to ask Mr. Schaefer for the numbers, if I may.
No, I'm going to pause on that if I can. That's exactly why I'm suggesting we wait, because we don't know that information. We're just suggesting we
I
go
never
forward
know
right
anything,
now.
though. It's never my job to know things off the top of my head. It's just my job to talk a lot. Mr. Schaefer, do you have the number? If you happen to have the numbers, please share them with us.
58 across the state have adopted, and 5 in Montgomery County.
Wait, can you say that to the mic just to...
58 municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania have adopted the resolution, 5 of them in Montgomery County. We started this 3 weeks ago. So we're...
This afternoon.
Yeah, Ambler was...
This afternoon.
Ambler was the first to adopt on March 22nd. So it's been a little more than 3 weeks. But
We started, 3 weeks ago? The passing of the resolutions or reaching out to townships?
passing of the resolutions in Montgomery County. We just started our operations here.
Okay. And in 3 weeks, we've had 5 in Montgomery County passed?
Since March 22nd, we've had 5 in Montgomery County.
And has there been one of those meetings that's coming to Abington next week in each of those townships?
No. No, you mean a community presentation?
Right.
No, not necessarily. And actually, we have no guarantee that the people who are going to the meeting at Abington Friends are going to be your constituents, because it's a community meeting, and we really haven't formatted it for a community forum.
Right.
So your constituents are not necessarily going to have an opportunity to convene with you on the topic at that time.
No, I understand that.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Commissioner Spiegelman, can we get the
I'm
speaker's
sorry. You
name
know
and
what?
address
You
for
hadn't
the
spoken
record,
before. Could
please?
you please give your name and address? My apologies. Thank you, Commissioner Klein.
I'm Paula Schaefer, and I'm one of the coordinators for Montgomery County Fair Districts, PA.
Thank you. Okay, can we get your? We actually need your address for the record. If you guys want to, if you have the same address.
23 Brookline Court, Ambler.
Great. Thank you. Excellent. I just wanted to call on Commissioner Kalinowski and then Commissioner Rothman.
Thank you.
Yes, and Commissioner, and I know there's somebody else in the audience that wants to speak. Absolutely, you'll get an opportunity.
So we received this information that it was going on. I reached out to Madeline Dean's office, and I spoke lengthily to Co today, who is, I guess, they're one of the co-sponsors of this.
in the for House Bill 722.
Being Co, he's one of the co. Anyway, we had a lengthy conversation, and he did explain a lot to me, and I left feeling better to support this than I did going into it, and realizing that it's not going to affect fiscally the township whatsoever. So this is a resolution that I feel we could support. It's not going to cost anybody any money. It's not going to come to a situation where, we're going to know where our districts are, and there's not going to be that great of change every 10 years or 12 years. And also, it's going to take a long process. So to get it started now, I think is a good idea. It's probably, like you said, 3 years or more. It's got to change the constitution of the state, and it's got to go to a statewide vote after these two bills are passed. So it's going to take a while even to do that. So I'm sure there'll be changes as we go along, like everything happens. And so I do support the resolution.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kalinowski. Commissioner Rothman, and then Commissioner Zappone.
Most of what I was going to say has been reiterated a few times, but we need to pass this because it's what's right, and we need to do it now.
Thank you. Commissioner Zappone?
No, I was just going to couple on to what Commissioner Farron was saying.
Could you pull your mic a little closer before Nathan yells at all?
Again, I'm in support of this because, like I said, I was involved the last time. It wasn't good for my ward. But we were just notified about this afternoon. So in support of what Commissioner Farron's saying, and really, to be honest with you, who's going to vote against this? I mean, I can't see that because it's the way it is now. It's just not right. So, I mean, if we go ahead with your presentation, we're educating ourselves even more. But I can't see anybody up here saying no to this. I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Zappone. Is there any other comments or commissioners? I think, was there someone else in the audience who wanted to get up? All right. All right, then. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out and for your commentary. And now the committee will go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. PA3 will move on to... I'm going to assume that every one of the calls was from me exclusively, and I think that's great. That's how it should be. Thank
Can you come back to more meetings?
And for Commissioner Kalinowski. So this will move on to committee for our full board meeting, which is next week, Thursday, the 11th. And I didn't wrap up yet. I might talk for 20 more minutes. Finally, any comments about from the audience about general matters of in the public affairs domain or purview?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. Thank you for that. That was absolutely needed, so we appreciate that. And I knew you didn't need my word on it. So I had asked you before, the thing that I was trying to say while the person from Alvathorpe was still here is at an earlier meeting, I had asked you specifically, Commissioner, about the finances at Alvathorpe Park. And it came up when we were extending to 10-year contracts and 10-year rental agreements and 7-year rental agreements and so on. And the residents of the township are picking up the bulk of this. And while that was a magnificent plan that we have, that's a Penn State plan and possibly a high school plan, and Abington Hospital will surely be in there too. And the finances and who's paying for that are extremely important. Are they still doing weddings there? Do you know? So
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So even though I had asked you before, your answer was, well, we're going to have a presentation on that, but you didn't ask them to present any part of the finances? And how it
I didn't
affects
ask for
us?
anything pertaining to the presentation. I'm sorry, continue, please.
Okay. So you did actually know that I had asked that, and you answered me by saying we were having a presentation. But you didn't ask them to put that in there. So I am concerned about the fact that Abington residents are paying for things that other people are using, and that it is not built or designed for a large number of Abington residents. Not to say that Penn State students don't include Abington residents, or Abington Hospital patients and doctors and nurses and whatever, whoever uses it might not, there'll be some Abington residents in there, but that's not the same thing as Abington residents paying for a monstrous building and then not really having the use for them. So I am concerned about that. Will you help me get those figures, Commissioner?
That's a very complicated question. I'm going to think about it. Please continue. I don't want to cut you off, though, because your time is...
No, you did. That's not true that you don't want to cut me off. You don't want to answer that question.
I would cut you off if I wanted to cut you off.
Okay, but that's why I put you on the spot, because we need those kinds of answers. So I have been saying up here for the last many months, and in vacant property meetings and so on, that we have code directors that are not doing their job, and I've said it before tonight. Last time, Commissioner Zappone said, well, I'm really happy with the code directors. Whenever I ask something of them, they do it for me. Is he not concerned about all the people in the township who are not getting served? Because this really is extremely important, that you would say, I'm going to praise somebody because he did something for me, but then you hear that person after person after person after person. And in my own case, I can't tell you how much it cost me that they did not do their job. Okay?
Commissioner Zappone, I don't think I could stop you. I'll tell you what, are you finished? Believe me, I wouldn't try to stop you. I just want to make sure the speaker sits down. No, I just want to make sure the speaker's...
Be glad to hear what...
Thank you. No, thank you very much. If you could be seated.
I just want to clear the air, that's all.
Commissioner Zappone, by all means.
Yeah, I praise the code director, because anytime I call that officer stop there, any issue I have on my board, it's handled immediately. Didn't I address when everybody was here the other night, okay, about the issues that the doctor up front had and somebody in the back had? Didn't I say that? Are we going to look and take care of everybody's issues? I remember I said that.
That is accurate, yes.
If these other commissioners have an issue with code, I'm not aware of that.
Well, I think I reported that there was an entire...
Yes, we're up here not to only represent our constituents in our ward, we're here to represent all the constituents in the township.
That's right.
And I think we do that. Maybe I'm asleep, I don't know.
Commissioner, will you sit down with me or talk to me on the phone and understand what they're not doing?
Ms. Lehman, your comments are complete. Thank you.
Okay. So that it can be fixed. Thank you for allowing understanding.
That's what I do. All right, thank you, Commissioner Zappone. All right, how about a motion to adjourn?
So here.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming to Public Affairs. Please come again.